you right now.
Not call out tonight.
No. After that, I don't think so. I mean, hey, Madramov's a bad though. He's a bad. The whole night was great though. Good to see you, Alex.
As the highly anticipated showdown between Terence Crawford and Israel Madrimov is over, the boxing community shared their reactions. Promoter Eddie Hearn shared his thoughts after the epic battle. He said that it was a very close call, but Crawford eventually dethroned Israel Madrimov.
Incredible event, a great fight card, very close main event. Obviously, heard what I said. I would say as well, I didn't realise there was two 115, 113s, one 116, 112. I thought there was two 116, 112s. I thought Israel Madrimov did enough to edge it tonight. I know there's always the argument of dethroning the champion, whether you think that's a thing or not. You know, I'm not sure I felt that Bud Crawford dethroned Israel Madrimov tonight. But
meanwhile, Israel Madrimov shared his thoughts after the fight when he seemed content with his performance.
As I said before, it's up to God. Whatever happened, happened. You know, yeah, if I could have won the 11th and 12th round, maybe I would have won the fight or had the draw, but I did what I could. You know, I followed my plan. You know, I did a lot in the beginning of the fight as well. I tried to be aggressive. I tried to take the fight to him, and obviously I exerted more energy. But you know, maybe next time. Maybe next time. With experience, we gain, and we can do differently, and we can be better in the future.
Meanwhile, pro boxer Caleb Plant embraced Crawford after his win against Madrimov, and he commented that it was a really tough fight for both fighters.
You just congratulated Terence Crawford. He wins tonight, world champion, 154 pounds. Now, overall, what'd you make of the fight, and did you feel it was as close as the cards indicated?
I thought it was close. I thought it was a close fight. I thought Terence pulled out the 12th round. And, you know, styles make fights. In Israel, he's got a lot of amateur experience.
Meanwhile, Terence Crawford commended Israel Madrimov for his patience during the fight.
It wasn't like disrupting me or anything. It was his patience. He was just patient. He was just waiting, get feint, and just keep feinting until he get a little closer. So he was real patient in there. He wasn't rushing in with nothing. He wasn't winging those wild winging shots like we normally seen him in the previous fights.
On the other hand, we have Polo G, who reacted to Terence Crawford's win over Madrimov.
I knew he was going to be tough, like I said.
Polo, Kevin with Fight Hype. What you think of the fight, Polo?
It was a good fight, man. Decent fight, man.
You think Terence deserved the decision, or was it closer than that?
For sure, I think he deserved it.
Polo, I got.
Former boxer Zab Judah shared his thoughts on the epic battle as he said that the decision was just and there was no controversy.
Great fight. What can I say?
Do you think the decision was appropriate?
Yeah.
Was it too wide?
No.
No? Was it too close?
No, I mean, listen. We witnessed Bud again tonight in spectacular fashion. He came in, you know, he didn't allow Madrimov to come in, and usually how Madrimov comes in with the big shots and start off awkward, and you know, guys be throw it off. And
on the other end, Eddie Hearn shockingly stated that it may be difficult for Terence to go up against Canelo, given his performance against Madrimov.
He's seen to this stretch, and it's probably his first fight at 154. Clearly, you know, Madrimov landed a lot of big right hands, and Canelo's two-way presses up. Is it a bit of a stretch at this point to even consider that kind of fight?
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, look, I think Terence that's a question for Terence. For me, 168 is a huge jump. You know, we're talking about someone the size of Canelo Alvarez, but you know, we have to remember that Terence was the challenger going in there tonight. And I know some of you guys don't like the narrative of, you know, it's not about champion and challenger, but it didn't feel like, you know, many will say a pound for pound #1 performance.
Pro boxer Devin Haney made an appearance since his last fight, and his thoughts were in favor of Crawford all the way.
Devin, who do you think is winning right now before you leave real quick?
What up, money? Come on now.
Crawford's winning?
Shit.
Is he winning clearly?
Oh, man. Yeah.
Is Madrimov putting up a good fight, right?
Yeah, he's putting up a good fight. Okay. Stop making fights, though. It's boxing.
Yeah, do you think Crawford looks good at 154 so far?
Right there, let him other side. Yeah. Crawford, the weight is showing, but Crawford is Crawford.
He's handling the weight well then.
For sure.
Meanwhile, pro boxer Teofimo Lopez said that Terence should not have had a problem against a guy with only 11 fights.
Clear victory for Bud? Huh? You thought it was a clear victory for Bud?
Shouldn't be getting hit like that with a guy that has only 11 pro fights. You shouldn't be having that much of difficulty with a guy that only has 11 pro fights. Now 12.
Mike Tyson's former coach Teddy Atlas shared his point of view on the Crawford and Madrimov battle.
Real quick, what'd you think of Madrimov?
No, listen, fought a good fight, a controlled fight, a smart fight, very contained fight, very disciplined fight. You know, he gave himself a chance. And he landed right hands against the southpaw stance, which, you know, you're supposed to throw right hands when you see a southpaw. But Crawford won the fight, but it was a fight that made Crawford, you know, obviously extend to himself to where, you know, he had to, you know, he had a real fight on his hands.
Madrimov's trainer Joel Diaz, on the other hand, was disappointed at the results from the judges.
He landed the best shots. You can see Crawford head all over the place. I mean, it's just,
by real quick.
No.
It's by real quick.
It's just, it bothers me and I'm irritated because we put in so much work.
Great game plan,
you know, we put in so much work into this, and we feel like we're disrespected, you know, because they don't value our work. I mean, we go to the gym 8 weeks, every day, just to make things happen, you know, to give a great performance like tonight. Israel, since the beginning, he was frustrating Crawford and throwing the right hand. At times, you caught him with left hooks, and you will see Crawford's head all over the place, right? Okay.
Meanwhile, Israel Madrimov added light to the fight. He said that he has done enough to prove himself in the ring against Crawford, but he also believes that Crawford is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Israel daringly stated that this was not one of his hardest fights, because he won the belt in the last fight easily. He praised Crawford for knocking out his last 10 opponents, including Spence, but Terence was not able to do to Madrimov what he had done against his previous opponents. In this fight, Israel proved why he deserved to be a champion, and he claims that he is still a world champion. Israel further stated after the fight was over, "I felt good in the fight and I feel really good right now." Although Crawford won the fight by decision from the judges, Madrimov rocked Terence Crawford really badly. Israel said that he was controlling the fight and there wasn't a single moment where he felt in danger from Crawford. Madrimov claimed that he got a lot of experience in the fight and he proved that he can give opponents like Crawford a really tough challenge. In addition, Caleb Plant further said that a lot of times people think that it's more of a popularity contest, where people think that if you have more fights, then you are a winner, but it's not the case. Israel, having only 10 professional fights, proved to be a heck of a challenge for Crawford, such that he wasn't able to knock him out. On the contrary, Madrimov gave Crawford terrible bruises with his immense power. When Caleb was asked about the aspect of the fight that stuck out to him the most, then he said that it was Israel's constant feints. Plant compared Israel to Usyk when he said that this ability is similar to Usyk's, but it does the trick. Caleb further revealed how Terence won the fight even though the competition was fiercely close. He said that at the end of the bout, Terence started scoring with some nice uppercuts and shots in the 12th round, so that allowed him to get a better score. In addition, Caleb was asked how he sees Crawford against Canelo, to which he responded, "I don't know how does that look now with how we looked at 54. He's also been inactive, you know, been out for a year, so maybe with some more activity, we would have seen a different fight tonight. Then, you know, I don't put anything past Terence. He's a special man when he puts his mind to some. You know, he's been able to do special things." On the opposite end, Eddie Hearn disturbingly stated that he doesn't think Crawford can pull a fight with Canelo. Hearn praised Crawford for giving an amazing fight, but was disappointed at the judges for marking the fight poorly. Crawford's movements were sloppy in the fight, and moving up to 168 will be too much of a trouble for Crawford. Eddie was further asked the goals of Riyadh season moving forward, to which he responded that the next goal for Turki Al Sheikh would be to target flights in Wembley in October. Hearn added that there are a lot of benefits to the Riyadh season, giving us incredible fights like August 3rd. Turki Al Sheikh on the opposite end was excited to bring more fights in the Riyadh season.
Are we coming back? Are we doing more?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Look at the reaction, the noise, they want more.
Before the fight, Turki shockingly revealed that if Crawford wins the battle with Madrimov, then he will offer Canelo a great chance to fight Terence. Turki said that if Canelo is smart, then he will accept the offer. Before the epic Crawford battle, pros had a very different opinion on both Madrimov and Terence. When former boxer Chris Algieri was asked about his opinion on who is going to win between Madrimov and Terence Crawford, he explained that Madrimov is a huge threat to Crawford at the time both fighters are fighting, and he matches Crawford in athleticism.
All right, Chris, what's your take on this Madrimov and Crawford fight?
I think it's a big threat. I think Madrimov, I've called a number of his fights on the way up. You know, he doesn't have that much pro experience, but he's got a tremendous amateur background. He's physically strong. He's a good-sized junior middleweight. He's super athletic. You know, he's one of those guys who does backflips after his fights. Like, he's just, I've seen him do things in the ring.
Chris Algieri admired Madrimov for his ability to become a pro in a very short amount of time and show uniqueness in his fighting style in the ring. Chris elaborated his remarks in Madrimov's favor by saying that his athleticism speaks volumes as he shows his backflips in the ring. Both Madrimov and Crawford were extremely talented in gymnastics and wrestling. Chris further commented that Madrimov believes 154 pounds was his weight class, and he was not wrong, given his performance in the ring. Chris said that if Madrimov brings the best version of himself to the ring against Crawford, then he is very much a threat to even the great Terence Crawford. This would have been the 4th time Crawford has changed his weight class, so Chris believed that he may lose his chance to fight Canelo if he gets beaten by Israel. On the other hand, former boxer Tim Bradley had similar views in favor of Madrimov. Tim continued to speak well of Madrimov, emphasizing that lesser-known fighters are already professionals before they are given credit. Bradley commented on Israel, "This guy fought his first professional fight and went 10 rounds. Who does that? Nobody. Only someone that's seasoned, that believes in himself, that has the skills to be able to do that, man, as you know." In addition, Tim said that the Cubans, the Uzbekistans, the Russians, and fighters from lesser-known countries stay in a pro game for a very long time. They have plenty of amateur fights before they turn pro and are given the spotlight. Tim Bradley continued to support Madrimov and other boxers from different countries. He said that this era of boxing is the Lomachenko era. No one waits for a large number of knockouts or victories before they enter a title fight. They start early and claim title fights very early, same as Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko went for a title fight the very first time he went pro, but he was able to secure a belt the second time. Bradley claimed that Israel has already won a world championship, so he is at the same level Crawford is at, if not more. Meanwhile, former boxer Paulie Malignaggi shared his views on who might win between Crawford and Madrimov. Paulie complimented Madrimov when he said that it is completely absurd for people to think that Crawford is going to beat Madrimov easily, and then we are going to see Terence challenge Canelo Alvarez in the 154 lb division. According to Paulie, these kinds of silly comments have severely underestimated Madrimov, even though that may not be the case. He went on to praise Madrimov, saying that despite not having faced well-known fighters in the past, he is a man who is eager for victory and understands his value in the ring. Madrimov is definitely out for blood against Crawford. Paulie also stated that, although Crawford doesn't seem like he's worn out, Terence still dominates the boxing world, but there's a huge chance of slippage for Crawford since he's not used to fighting at 154 lbs. He further revealed something that could cause Terence problems when he faces Madrimov. Paulie mentioned that Crawford might not be the same as the one we all know and love. After competing with so many opponents in the previous years, Crawford's advanced age might be a huge disadvantage over Israel Madrimov because the latter is accustomed to fighting at 154 pounds, while Crawford is not. Paulie said that we haven't seen Crawford's talent fade throughout his previous battles, but Terence's entrance into the ring will be the only way to find out. In another interview, pro boxer Troy Isley shared his thoughts on Terence Crawford and Israel Madrimov bout. He said that Terence is far too experienced to lose. Even though he may stop Israel later on, he will still do it.
Got, Terence Crawford against Israel Madrimov. What's your thoughts on that fight, man?
I feel like Terence Crawford too experienced, so I feel like he gonna win easy.
Early stoppage?
I gonna say early, maybe later.
Okay.
But I feel like a stoppage.
Next up, boxing promoter Eddie Hearn was asked if he sees Terence Crawford fight Canelo after his fight with Israel Madrimov is over. Eddie Hearn shockingly stated that going up to 168 pounds is just too much for Crawford.
In terms of him moving up, if we say Terence Crawford wins on Saturday night and we see a Canelo Crawford fight, is that just another argument of too many weights then?
Yeah, I don't think Crawford beats Canelo because I think the weight's just too much. You're not just talking about 168 pounds, you're talking about a guy that will be 185 in the ring, or 175 probably. 185, yeah, in the ring. It's a huge amount of weight, and it's a strange fight, but obviously it's a fantasy fight.
Hearn believes that Crawford has changed his weight 4 times, so it may cause trouble for him in the fights. Madrimov is a very formidable adversary that punches really hard. Eddie was skeptical whether Crawford can pull off defeating Madrimov and then catch Canelo's attention later on. His concern is genuine because Terence may end up getting hurt really bad against Israel. Moreover, Hearn remarked that the Canelo-Crawford fight may be more of a fantasy matchup than an actual fight. Hearn commented on whether Canelo will be willing to take the Crawford fight. I don't think Canelo is mad about that fight. I think that he kind of feels like, what do I get out of beating a 147 guy or a 154? No one's really going to give me the credit for it. Eddie also mentioned that Canelo has more of a business mindset, so he would probably take any fight if the money was overflowing, and we can count on Turki Al-Sheikh to make it happen. In another interview with Eddie Hearn, he distressingly warned Crawford not to go up against Canelo Alvarez at 168 because he will get hurt very badly. Eddie Hearn thinks that Crawford is jumping too many weight classes, which may end up ruining his career for good.
How is Crawford going to be able to bridge this weight gap?
Yeah, I don't think he can, in all honesty. I mean, he might not be able to bridge it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
one weight class.
68, yeah, but you're coming up from 35.
Mm.
35, 40, 47, 54. Sooner or later, it's one too many.
Mm.
And 68 is definitely too many. But Crawford's brilliant. Like, he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. But you have to use your movement if you're Terence Crawford in that fight. The last thing you want to do is stand and trade. He'd be moving a lot in that fight, trust me. I'm not saying he'd be running, but he would be moving a lot. Of course, that's the way to beat him.
Yeah.
You know.
Meanwhile, Israel Madrimov seemed really confident before facing the Butte Crawford after the weigh-ins in Los Angeles. He said that Saturday night is a show no one should miss.
Thank you for coming. Inshallah, Saturday night will be a great fight. Don't miss.
I thought it was interesting. Yesterday we spoke to you and asked you what your game plan was, and you basically said you're going to figure it out in the ring depending on what Terence does. Why is that how you're approaching this fight?
Israel further said that his goal is to show the game plan in the ring, as he will figure out his moves once he sees what Crawford is capable of. Madrimov claimed that he is going to give the fans a great fight, and he is there to claim victory. On the contrary, Terence Crawford shared his thoughts before the fight with Madrimov. He said that he will be there to give a great show to the fans and prove that he is the best fighter in the world. In addition, Terence was asked how he feels at 154 pounds, coming from 147 pounds when he faced Errol Spence back in 2023. It's been a year since Terence stepped into the ring, so he said that it was a challenge to go up, but it feels great to have an extra 7 pounds on me. Additionally, Terence Crawford stupendously claimed that he is already the best in 154 when he stepped up in weight class. Crawford was asked how he feels against Israel Madrimov, since Israel is a really tough opponent, although he doesn't have much professional fight experience. Crawford, with an overwhelming amount of confidence, stated that he has beaten gold medalists, silver medalists, Olympians, and now he is going to beat Madrimov. On the other hand, Israel Madrimov's trainer Joel Diaz shared his thoughts on the fight before Terence and Madrimov stepped into the ring. He said, "It's a great opportunity. We are, we're honored to be part of this event, going against the best fighter pound for pound. I know it's by far one of my toughest jobs to put a plan against Terence Crawford. It's very hard." Joel further said that he and Israel trained really hard to show up against Crawford, and the fans are going to get one of the best fights of the year. Additionally, Diaz was asked about the time when Terence Crawford came to spar with Tim Bradley. Just like Madrimov, Joel Diaz also trained former boxer Tim Bradley throughout his professional career. Joel said that back then, Terence was very young and he only had 6 professional fights. Now he has matured to the best pound-for-pound guys in multiple divisions. Furthermore, Diaz claimed that Terence has fought 40 fights and now Israel will be the 41st fighter, but somewhere down the road, one has to hit the jackpot. Joel commented that they are trying to hit the jackpot with the Crawford fight and make a name for themselves. In addition, Joel said that he doesn't look back at who Crawford was or what his style of fighting was back when he sparred Bradley, because Crawford has matured too much. When he has 40 fights in his career, then it doesn't matter how well a trainer read his movements back when he was an amateur. Terence is on a whole new level now. Moreover, Joel was asked about the potential underdog situation in the Crawford fight. Diaz said that 90% of the time he has been the underdog and he has accomplished a win. He said that the same thing happened when he trained Bradley, Marquez, and Canelo, so Joel expected the same thing to happen in the fight against Crawford. With an overwhelming amount of confidence, Joel claimed that a fighter is nothing new for him, so he is ready for Crawford. Joel gave credit to the Uzbek boxers on their domestic training regimen. He claims to have had the chance to spend 3 weeks in Uzbekistan, where he shockingly learned that the fighters were engaging in low and high-intensity sparring with both lefties and righties, as well as with individuals who were bigger and smaller. Diaz also praised Israel Madrimov's endurance and cardio. Joel is extremely certain that Israel can defeat its opponent and stay in complete control for 15 rounds instead of 12. Meanwhile, during the weigh-ins, professional boxer Shakur Stevenson ridiculed Israel Madrimov by saying that he is way too little in comparison to Crawford. In another interview during the weigh-ins, former boxer Antonio Tarver was asked to give his thoughts on the bigger 154 version of Crawford. Tarver was surprised at seeing Crawford, and he said that he is going to be strong as hell. Moreover, Tarver commented on Crawford's guts on taking on Israel Madrimov. You gotta take a hat off to Crawford for, stepping up, but also picking and choosing one of the toughest guys in the division. I think Crawford want to make a statement. I mean, when you look at this frame, it looks like he's just a few pounds from a Canelo build, you feel me? According to Tarver, Madrimov has a highly distinctive fighting technique. He goes left-handed, then right. However, there's no particular pattern to it. Antonio said that Terence has a lot of tricks under his sleeve, but he thinks that Israel's might is his greatest trick. In order to defeat Madrimov, Terence might have to give it everything he's got, and the only way he can succeed is by using his own skill. Before the fight, Antonio revealed a strategy for Crawford to beat Madrimov. He said that Terence should work on his defense and then wear Madrimov down. As long as he avoids any unnecessary shots from Israel, he will have the upper hand in the fight. Madrimov is not that fast when it comes to boxing, but he does have his power to make up for it. On the other hand, Crawford has speed, and he has great footwork, so he can avoid dangerous blows. As long as Crawford finds the rhythm and the time to adapt to his opponent, then he will beat Madrimov. Furthermore, pro boxer Emiliano Vargas shared his thoughts on who might win between Terence and Madrimov. He said that Crawford tops Madrimov in every way.
Fight coming up here. We've got Madrimov versus Crawford as the main event. Break the fight down. What do you think about these two getting together?
I got Crawford. I think his experience is a lot more than
Madrimov.
Yeah, but I just think Crawford tops him.
Vargas told the audience that Crawford is going to have to be smart against Madrimov. He said that Israel has only 10 professional fights, but he is hungry for a win, so he is going to give this fight everything he has got. Terence needs to stop him. Even if he can't do it early on, Crawford will definitely stop Madrimov in the later rounds. Make sure to tell us about your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel.